The Revolutionary War timeline consists of 7 events covering a span of almost 30 years. The first event on the timeline is George Washington as Commander-in-Chief. Why was he chosen to be the Commander-in-Chief? He was chosen based on his military experience and the hope that a leader from Virginia could help unite the colonies. Washington was paid for his role only at the end of the war when his expenses were to be paid. The next event on the timeline is the Declaration of Independence. The goal and purpose of the Declaration of Independence was to explain to other nations why the colonies had chosen to separate themselves from Britain. The people who were asked to help draft the Declaration of Independence were Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Ben Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert B. Livingston. The Declaration also became a model for other countries to follow. The next event on the timeline are the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation were written on July 12, 1776, and were adopted on November 15, 1777. It basically served as the Constitution until 1789. The original purpose for the Articles of Confederation was to provide a governing structure. It set up the first rules and organized the government. The need for a strong federal government soon became apparent, and that is one of the realistic outcomes of the Articles of Confederation. The next event on the Revolutionary War timeline is the Treaty of Alliance with France. The treaty was signed on February 6, 1778. The French formed an alliance with the Americans so they could overpower the British. The Congress sent Ben Franklin to France because he was so popular and most people liked him there. The next event on the timeline is the Treaty of Paris. The treaty was signed in 1783, but discussion started about it on November 30, 1782. 3 Americans that were involved in the signing of the treaty were Benjamin Franklin, John Jay, and John Adams. The most important article, the article that was most important to the Americans, was the Preliminary Act article. The primary goal of the treaty was to end the war and promote peace. The person who represented the British at the signing was Richard Oswald. The next event on the Revolutionary War timeline is the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution was ratified in 1788. Ratify means to sign or give formal consent to an agreement or important paper document. The group that had more power is the federal government because they all had equal power amongst themselves. They could basically control everything. The states all had the same power and they wanted to become united. The next event on the timeline are the Federalist Papers. Federalist means to be supporters of America and the Constitution. The writers of the Federalist Papers were Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay. There were 85 essays written that were included in the Federalist Papers. The colonists did not know who the authors were. The authors had a pen name, Publius. They chose the name Publius in honor of the great Roman named Publius. Essay number 40 in the Federalist Papers was interpreting and understanding the original content of the Constitution. All of these events on the timeline are big turning points in American history, in the history of the United States. All of these events had a part in forming what we know as the United States today.